It is Tuesday. It's the 22nd of July. I'm Moon Gun-young. This is ARIRANG News live from Seoul. Our top stories today. The badly decomposed body of the fugitive ferry tycoon, the de facto owner of the ferry that capsized back in April, killing more than 300 people, is found in a plum field in the southern part of Korea. But it's creating more questions than answers. Korean companies with huge corporate cash reserves are concerned about the government's plan to take measures to funnel some of the increasing corporate cash pile into households and the broader economy. And the UN Security Council approves a resolution with Russian support calling for an international investigation into the crash of MH17. Meanwhile, rebels in eastern Ukraine hand over flight data recorders from the downed plane to Malaysian experts. But our top story this Tuesday afternoon is that police have confirmed that a body found in southern Korea is that of Yoo Byung-hun, the billionaire owner of the Sewol-ho ferry that sank in April. The 73-year-old's badly decomposed body was discovered well over a month ago in a plum orchard in that region, although authorities only confirmed his identity a few hours ago. It's definitely creating more questions than answers. Our Choi Kyung-hwan reports.
The practical owner of the Sewol-ho ferry that sank in April, killing more than 300 passengers, has been found dead.
On the evening of July 21st, the National Police Agency informed us that the DNA from a body found in Suncheon matched to that of Yoo Byung-hun's.
While waiting for the final forensic results, authorities also confirmed that a fingerprint taken from the body found in a field in Korea's southwestern city of Suncheon on June 12th also matched to that of the 73-year-old. Shortly after the sinking of the Sewol-ho ferry on April 16th, a massive manhunt was launched for Yoo and his family members on possible charges of embezzlement and criminal negligence. Yoo is the former head of Semo Group, which is the predecessor of the Sewol-ho ferry operator. Authorities, meanwhile, still don't know when or how Yoo died, but they found bottles of alcohol, a health product made by a company linked to his religious group, and parts of his book near his badly decomposed body. Although it took nearly 40 days to confirm Yoo's identity, the prosecution and police now face public criticism for wasting more than a month searching for a dead man. Unaware of Yoo's whereabouts, prosecutors renewed a 6-month arrest warrant for Yoo earlier this week. With news of the ferry owner's death, attention now shifts to the prosecution's investigation into finding the Yoo family at fault for the ferry accident and providing compensation for the victims. Authorities are still hunting for Yoo Byung-hun's eldest son, Tae-gyun, who has a $98,000 bounty on him. Choi Kyung-hwan, ARIRANG News.
In other news, at the nation's top office, President Park Geun-hye wants her new economic team to mobilize and revitalize the local economy. She was meeting with her new cabinet, including Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan, for the first time this Tuesday, where the president called on the government to direct finances toward areas that'll help people in their daily lives. She specifically referred to job creation and an increase in household income. Now, later this week, the government is set to announce its economic policy direction for the second half of this year. And with that in mind, President Park also asked officials to focus on streamlining red tape and to keep tabs on the effects of the policies. Now, on national reform, the president vowed to push towards forward with rooting out corruption and boosting the nation's safety systems. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan has been busy since taking office last week, meeting with the central bank governor on Monday and today with the nation's business leaders. The business leaders used the opportunity to raise concerns about hints that the new finance minister has been dropping about targeting the high reserves of the nation's biggest companies. Our Song Ji-sun explains.
The combined cash reserves of Korea's 10 largest conglomerates have doubled in just 5 years to $515 billion. That's 40% more than the government's budget for the whole of this year. Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan believes businesses must use these huge sums of money to reinvest, increase dividend payouts, and boost salaries in order to revitalize the economy. The dividend rate, the amount per share an investor receives when the dividend is paid, is lower in Korea than it is in any other emerging market. This means investors are getting lower returns as local companies stockpile their earnings. The minister has been pushing to tax companies that cling onto huge reserves. But businesses say the finance minister's plans would be akin to double taxation, stressing they plan to utilize reserves in the future.
Companies think it's unfair to be taxed again after paying corporate taxes. The reserves in various assets like properties and other non-cash forms are often used for investment down the road.
In their first meeting with the new finance minister on Tuesday, business leaders called for a more careful approach as there could be a number of unwanted side effects to the plans. They also called on Choi to push through reforms on deregulation. 송지선, ARIRANG News.
Well, if you want to save money, you don't want to be tucking away your money under the bed, and perhaps, you're using a savings account because it has a low risk and to nest egg. But if that is your plan today in Korea, you should not be expecting a decent yield. Korean banks have recently been lowering interest rates on savings accounts. Now, Uri Bank, for one, which is one of Korea's 4 major banks, has cut its interest rate for the time deposits by 0.1 percentage point to 0.9%, 1.9% that is, while Hana Bank has lowered its interest rate for some of its installment savings products to 1.8%. The cuts stem from a low-key rate trend and market expectations that it might slide even further as growth slows in this nation. Now, across the globe, the United Nations Security Council has unanimously backed a resolution condemning last week's downing of a Malaysia Airlines plane in eastern Ukraine, which, of course, killed all 298 passengers on board. Well, the move comes as pro-Russia separatists have finally allowed investigators access to the bodies of the victims and the plane's black boxes. Here's our Son Jung-in with the latest.
The UN Security Council resolution over the downing of MH17 calls for international investigators to have unrestricted access to the crash site and demands a ceasefire between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian rebels to ensure a safe inspection in the area. Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop, who drafted the resolution, addressed the Council, condemning the grotesque violations at the site.
It demands that safe, secure, full and unrestricted access to the crash site be provided so the investigating authorities can carry out their work. Mr. President, the message from this Council to those who were responsible for this atrocity is definitive. You will be held to account for your actions.
Amid mounting pressure from Western nations over its possible involvement in the downing of the passenger jet, Russia also voted in favor of the resolution. The vote came as a train carrying the remains of the majority of the victims left the crash site to the Ukrainian city of Kharkov. From there, a Dutch aircraft is set to fly the bodies to the Netherlands, where the largest number of victims came from, to begin the forensic identification process. The separatists also handed over the 2 black box flight recorders from the aircraft to Malaysian authorities, who said the recorders were in good condition. They hope the devices will help detail what exactly happened at the moment Flight 17 was shut down. Son Jung-in, ARIRANG News.
And in light of the recent events in eastern Ukraine, the U.S. has put out clearer guidance about the areas where commercial aircraft are banned from flying. Airlines have been prohibited from entering the airspace over Crimea since April, but the downing of Flight 17 prompted the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration to expand the advisory to cover the area of the crash as well. The guidelines extend to a total of 6 countries, including North Korea, which the FAA warns could launch ballistic missiles without prior notice. The others on the list are Ethiopia, Iraq, Libya, and Somalia. As the conflict in Gaza intensifies, so are diplomatic efforts to broker a truce there. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is meeting UN Chief Ban Ki-moon in Cairo, and President Obama has urged Hamas to accept the Egyptian-brokered ceasefire agreement. But aides admit it will be a rough road ahead to reach a truce that works for both sides. Secretary Kerry announced a humanitarian aid package worth $47 million to assist the more than 100,000 Palestinian refugees who fled homes to escape the violence in Gaza. The Palestinian death toll has now well surpassed 500, and a majority of them were civilians. In the latest string of attacks on Monday, at least 5 people were killed and some 70 others wounded when Israeli tank shells struck a hospital in central Gaza. The Israeli military said it was targeting anti-tank missiles nearby. And it's in this context that global concern is growing in regards to the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. Thousands of demonstrators expressed their outrage against the Israeli offensive in cities stretching from Paris to Tokyo and Buenos Aires to Kashmir. 15,000 protesters turned up in London over the weekend to call for justice and freedom for Palestine. Angry crowds were also observed in Turkey for consecutive days, condemning what they perceived as Israel's indiscriminate killings. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department has issued a travel warning for Israel and the West Bank, discouraging any non-essential travel to those areas, in addition to the existing warning on the Gaza Strip.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Moon Gon-yong live from Seoul.
Mobile shopping market for the dual use of the Korean name East Sea and Japanese name Sea of Japan in school textbooks in the state of Virginia. Now, Korea's leading mobile messaging service, Kakao Talk, is diving into the mobile banking business. When the firm's latest service launches, probably sometime this fall, Kakao users will be able to send around $100 to friends or family at the push of that yellow button. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Boasting more than 30 million subscribers in Korea, Kakao Talk is already the nation's most popular messaging service, with a hand in mobile games and free online call services. But it has even bigger things in mind. To keep user numbers up, Kakao Talk plans to expand its services to allow for money transfers as soon as this September. To use a so-called Katalk banking service, users will first have to download an application known as Bank Wallet Kakao. After going through a verification process, the user will be required to register their bank account details and set a password. After creating a virtual account and linking it to an actual banking account, people will be able to transfer around $100 each day and top off their accounts to about $500. The company has joined up with more than a dozen commercial banks and the Korea Financial Telecommunications and Clearings Institute to offer the service. Korea's financial regulator is currently looking into the companies to see if they meet security standards. It comes amid concerns of possible breaches, from the hacking of passwords and personal data to the theft of authentication certificates. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
A Korean institute has issued a stark warning about the rise in greenhouse gases in the nation. Start cutting them now, or more than 130 people will die every year as a result between the years of 2051 to 2060. Now, this is nearly 7 times more than the heat-related death recorded between the years of 2001 to 2010. Korea's National Disaster Management Institute analyzed possible climate change scenarios and population numbers to come up with that figure. If climate trends continue at their current rates, the institute says, Korea would experience at least one 10-day span per summer where temperatures exceed 33 degrees Celsius from the year 2051 to 2060. From 2001 to 2010, there were 4 days in total. And on to this piece of health news, and that is disturbing. Doctors in Korea say it's becoming more difficult to effectively treat the Helicobacter pylori infection, which is the strongest known risk factor for gastric cancer. A medical team at the Asan Medical Center in Seoul says that of the 400 patients that have been given antibiotics to treat H. pylori since last year, only 68% of them saw the bacteria have been eradicated. And this is about 20% lower than 15 years ago, and the medical team attributes the decrease to the bacteria's growing resistance to one of the two key antibiotics used to treat it. Gastric cancer, or also known as stomach cancer, of course, is the second leading cause of cancer-related death worldwide. And another form of cancer, breast cancer, doesn't normally cause symptoms at first, and because of its complex structural characteristics, it's quite difficult to detect it in the early stages. But local researchers say they have developed a new technology that can accurately detect abnormalities within the breast much more quickly. Here's our Connie Kim.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women worldwide, but its survival rate when diagnosed in the early stages is close to 100%. The problem is that it's hard to detect in its initial phase with the existing diagnostic system. The internal breast is a complex area made of muscle, glandular tissue, and fatty tissue, which makes it much more difficult to spot cancer cells hidden inside with two-dimensional X-ray images.
Mammogram images show the breast tissue with overlapped layers, and even if you do spot something suspicious, it is hard to determine whether it is breast cancer.
Local researchers have developed diagnostic equipment that can see the internal breast tissue in 3D. The device takes 15 X-ray pictures of the breast, each with a different incline of 3 degrees. Then software synthesizes the photos in a 3D stereoscopic image, enabling doctors to see the breast tissue in great detail.
Previously, we had to depend on just one picture, but this gives us an image that shows dozens of layers together. It gives us a 30% higher chance to detect cancer compared to the current method.
There are currently over 16,000 women in Korea who are living with breast cancer, with the number increasing steadily by 10% each year. The new diagnostic method will be developed further and is expected to be commercialized by the end of 2015. Connie Kim, ARIRANG News.
Well, as the mercury rises in the summer, especially this year, it's been rising far above and beyond. You know, what better ways to be indoors at an air-conditioned movie theater? And what about a film festival? Well, one of the largest Korean film festivals are taking place currently, and it's the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival, otherwise known as PFAN. Our cultural correspondent Park Geun-hye tells us what's in store for us.
This is the 18th annual edition of PFAN, one of the nation's largest film festivals, along with others in Busan and Jeonju. But PFAN sets itself aside from the pack by being Asia's largest genre film festival, one that specializes in more diverse films ranging from fantasy and sci-fi to horror films.
I'm a big movie fan, and this is my third time at PFAN. Although I'm not into thrillers, this film festival has its own unique attractions and colors, which is why I'm back again this year.
I'm a horror movie fan. I watch every horror movie I can find, especially anything Korean or Asian. So this is a good place to watch movies like that.
Film director Kim Seung-hyuk, whose thriller Nothing Lost made this year's World Fantastic Cinema section at PFAN, is thrilled just to be there.
It's an honor that my film is being presented in PFAN's World Fantastic Cinema section, which introduces the newest genre films. I used to be a big fan of genre films and never imagined my film would be shown here.
PFAN this year will feature 210 films from 47 countries. In its main competition section, 12 films are up for the Busan Choice Award. A melodramatic horror film from Argentina called Darkness by Day, and a Chinese film delving into the world of hypnosis called The Great Hypnotist are two being featured. And an American film, Time Lapse, is highly imaginative. It's about a camera that takes pictures 24 hours into the future.
The list of fantastic film festivals begins in Europe. PFAN is similar in size to Spain's Sitges Film Festival, and we have amicable relations with them. This year we focused on discovering and introducing genre films from Latin America, China, and Southeast Asia.
Of the more than 200 films at the festival, 43 are world premieres and 68 of them are Asian premieres. Park Geun-hye, ARIRANG News.
Well, that was for our movie lovers out there, but let's turn to our daily arts and culture segment for those who are more into more classical form of arts here in Korea. For that, our Im Yoon-hee joins me live in the studio. So good afternoon to you, Yoon-hee.
Good afternoon.
So therapy through art, that's nothing new. We have heard many times that it works effectively. But I hear you have a very particularly special artist today.
Right, so he's a very young artist. He's actually only 11 years old, and he has proven to many that he can overcome pretty much anything through his art. Take a look. Lee In-hoo is just like any other child who likes to color and draw. But even at the age of 3, he was a victim of bullying, something that affects children everywhere. In order to overcome, he turned to what he loves best, art, and now he's considered a child genius.
Since I was 3, I remember being bullied, but drawing has helped me overcome it. I become happy when I draw.
This child prodigy has never been taught, nor has he received any lessons. Instead, he paints from his heart. His works show themes of togetherness, the East with the West, and logic with emotions. What others may see as opposites, this 11-year-old believes should be together in harmony. Another artist who brings together opposites in her work is Choi Kyung-hwan. Most recognized for her cat paintings, Lee creates harmony on the canvas by uniting unlikely couples. She juxtaposes contrasting images and brings forth the hope of unity, where differences highlight similarities.
The world around me is an interpretation of the impressions and influences throughout my life, as well as a question about the direction of my future.
Her realistic cat paintings are also on display, showing various lovable felines.
Individuals can feel alienated, wound up in society, so when respect can be given, it should. It's meaningful when one person makes a first attempt at friendship because it will lead to so much more.
The exhibition gives the audience a peek into the artist's life, including her many and various recreations of cats.
You know, I think I'm more of a dog person. I don't know why, but I'm scared of cats. This artist, her paintings are very unique. They have such unique images.
Right, so she has really developed a reputation for creating very unique, one-of-a-kind, eye-catching pieces like you just saw in the report. But other than painting, she also is known for her installation art, which is quickly catching on here in Korea. And so installation art is a chance for artists to really make use of pretty much anything in the space that they choose. And with this artist, she does that, like I saw in the report, also with her trademark cat.
Well, you know, I want to go back to the young artist, the 11-year-old. You know, it was
Very
heartbreaking to hear that he was bullied, but now he's, you know, developed into a very good artist.
Lots of potential there. And so he's actually, you know, only 11 years old, but he has shown that he has so much potential in the field. But actually, when asked what he wants to do, he said he wants to go to Paris, France, not to study, but to just kind of get inspiration and to see what the city of art is like. And so he wants to go there and check it out himself, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Well, it's, you know, always amazing and, you know, I'm just blown by how capable these young artists are, and the kind of creativity that comes along as well.
Right, they just seem to be getting younger and younger every day. Along with this 11-year-old artist, there's another 11-year-old from Norfolk who they actually calculated his artwork, his paintings, and estimated to be worth over $500,000, which is over $500,000. And so that is amazing at 11 years old. So these kids are just showing so much potential, so much passion, and so much just talent, pure talent in art.
Right, and probably that figure means nothing to them at that age, and it's just their passion that drives them to draw more or create more art pieces. All right, Yoon-hee, thank you so much for that report, and we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Good afternoon. As the monsoon front moves northward towards the central region, the sky is turning gray with a cool breeze here in Seoul. And the heat wave warnings have been lifted here in the capital, but in the areas where there's no rain, such as the eastern and the southern regions, there are still warnings and advisories in effect with temperatures over into the 30s. And finally, we are expecting some precipitation, and it looks like it's going to be quite a fair amount. Starting later this afternoon here in Seoul, where up to 150 millimeters are forecast to fall. Now going over to our temperature readings, Seoul will top out at 29 this afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan will peak up to 33 and 29 degrees. Now moving over to other regions, Jeju Island tops over to 30, Dokdo at 29, while Mangkeong tops to 31. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and back to you, Kanyang.
Well, another very warm day here. Thank you, Michelle, for that. And that's just about it from me. Check back with us at 4 p.m. Korea time.